Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Tim from Timber Ridge Gifts. So in this video we're going to be checking out how to make a nice beer candle. This is a gel and paraffin wax beer candle put together to make it look exactly like a nice frothy mug of beer. Now you've probably seen these on other candle maker sites. Maybe you've seen some for sale. If you're like me, when you first saw them, I thought that's way above my skill level. I'll never be able to make that. That guy's obviously a professional. But as you're going to see in the video that you're about to watch, it's the easiest thing in the world. So enough talking about it. Let's check out the supplies we're going to need and get started. Okay, so let's go over our supplies. To start off with, we're going to need our container. For this, since it's a beer candle, we're going to be using a beer mug. I actually got this at the Dollar Tree. This mug was only $1. It's a great deal. Works perfectly for a beer candle. Next, we're going to need our wick. For this size candle, I'm going to be using a Eco 14 wick. This is a 10-inch. We're going to need our wick bar. We're going to need 1 pound, 8 ounces of gel wax, 8 ounces of paraffin wax, gold candle dye. You're going to have to use the liquid on this one. You can't use the dye blocks or the dye chips. This one is the orange gold liquid dye from Lone Star Candle Supply. And we're going to need our beer scent. This one is beer from Nature's Garden. Out of all the ones I've tried, this is probably the closest to beer that you're going to find. So that's really all we need. So let's go ahead and start making. Okay, so we've got our gel wax measured out. While it's melting down, we're going to go ahead and set our wick. Now, if you've never worked with gel wax before, just keep in mind it's going to be a lot different from soy. It's actually got a much higher melting point. So we're going to have to get this to about 225, 230 before it's completely melted. So while we're waiting on that, we can go and get our other stuff ready. Okay, now to set our wick, if you haven't seen it in any of my other videos, it's really quite simple. We're just going to take a hard plastic straw that I stole from a tumbler. We're just going to set our wick. Just a dab of hot glue on the bottom. Go ahead and center it. Give that a second to dry, and we're going to set our wick bar. Okay, we're just going to set that aside for now. Okay, so our gel wax is completely melted. Right now we're at about 233 degrees. Now, if you don't have a Presto pot or a kitchen kettle like I have, you can do this on the stovetop. I would suggest, if you are just doing it straight on the stovetop with your pouring pot, if you try to use a double boiler with this, it's going to take you forever just because you have to get the temperature so high. But this is completely melted, so we're ready to transfer it to our pouring pitcher. Okay, now we're ready to add our color. Like I said before, we're going to use orange gold liquid dye from Lone Star Candle Supply. Now the difference between gel wax and soy wax is that the gel wax holds its color really well. So a little bit goes a long way. For this 1.5 pounds, we're just going to use 1 drop. Stir that up real good. Okay, once we've cooled to about 200 degrees, we're ready to pour. Now for this candle, you can add the fragrance oil to the gel wax. It's going to lose that clearness that you're going to see in the finished product. It's going to have more of an opaque finish. Still going to look great, but it's not going to quite have the clear finish that I want. So we're going to leave the fragrance oil out of the gel wax. We're going to pour it in. We're going to really put it into the paraffin wax. It's more of a decorative candle, so the whole thing doesn't need to be scented, just the top part. Normally for a gel candle, you would preheat your glass just to avoid getting those bubbles. But since it's a beer candle, we don't really mind the bubbles because it's just going to look like extra carbonation in it. So we're just going to go ahead and pour it down the center. Just be real careful not to get it on the top or the sides, because that's going to be a different part of our decoration later. You can see all the bubbles that are forming. It doesn't really bother me. A lot of those are going to go away. But in the end, it's just going to look like carbonation for the beer candle. So it doesn't bother me at all that those are there. So now we're just going to let this cool. Once this cools enough to where it's the wick is freestanding enough that you can take the wick bar off, we're going to move on to the next step. But it's going to take it about an hour or two to cool. So we're just going to pause the video and come back when this is fully cooled. Okay, so our gel wax is dried completely. We can go ahead and take our wick bar off. A little bit that spilled there. Okay, as you can see, it's set up real nice. Looks just like a mug of beer right now, but we still got a finishing touch to put on top of it. For that, we're going to use our 8 ounces of paraffin wax. I'm just going to go ahead and pour it in a... We're going to pour it in a pouring pitcher. We're going to go ahead and get it melted down. We don't really have to watch our temperature on this one. Just pretty much to the point where it's all completely melted and just a clear liquid. Then we're going to go ahead and transfer it, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so we've got our paraffin melted down. Next step is to let it cool. We're going to add our fragrance oil. Then we're actually going to whisk it into a foam. And we could do it in our pouring pitcher. I'm just going to transfer it to this glass pitcher just so you can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay. Now we're adding 1 ounce of the Nature's Garden beer fragrance oil. Okay, it started to cool to the point now where we're going to start to get that that haze on the top. So now we can go ahead and begin mixing or whisking it. Basically, that's all we're going to do. This is probably the most difficult part of making this candle, and even it's really not that hard. We're just going to keep whisking it for a while. And now people are going to ask me if you can use a hand beater or an electric mixer. That's fine. I just prefer to do it by hand just so I can get a better feel for it. Okay, so we're getting close. We're just about done. It's still a little too runny. We want it just thick enough to where it starts to form peaks whenever you lift your whisk out. We could pour it now, but it's so runny that it would just kind of lay flat, and it's not going to give us that bubbly foam look. So we got a little bit more to go. Now, if you notice, when I made my initial pour of the gel wax, I left probably about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inches empty space at the top. That's going to allow for our foam to sit on top. And we're going to hopefully have enough where some spills out over the side, give it that real frothy, foamy, freshly poured beer look. Okay, so it's cold and we've whisked enough to the point where it's ready to pour. I'm going to try to show you this. It's really hard to show on the camera. Basically, we're to the consistency where not a lot hangs on the whisk when I pull it out, but it leaves like a nice little foamy peak whenever as it draws out of the container with the whisk. So we're ready to pour. Basically, all we're going to do is bring it over there. We're being pretty careful to get it all in the center, and we kind of work our way out from there. Okay, we'll let a little bit pour over the sides. Kind of shape it a little bit. Okay, we're pretty much done. We're going to go ahead and straighten our wick back up. Okay, and that's done. We'll just let that cool, and we'll see how it looks when it's done. Okay, so our layer of foam has cooled. Now it's left is for us to finish up the wick. You can either trim it, or what I like to do, since it's going to be a decorative candle, you can take and you can just kind of curl the wick, give it that nice spooled look. Yeah. And we're done. There is our beer candle. Thanks for watching, y'all. Make sure you check out the rest of my videos. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more.